Hi guys, so today I have today's nail mailbox that I thought I would show you. As usual, I already had a peek because God knows I can't help myself. So this is today's this month's. That is the word we're going to go with today. So the only things I'll need that aren't included are black and white gel pens, a top coat and a liner brush. And this is the 48th edition. It's 4 years of nail mail. I think I've done it for maybe just over a year. Possibly, but I've definitely never ever had a bad box. So honestly, my brain is shit. There is the tutorial. Right, there we go. So it's Nail Noir Cheshire that has done these tutorials. And in it we have some goodies. Okay. These are actually new brands that I haven't tried before. I really like it when I get new brands I haven't tried. So we have a very large pot of Crystal Glow. So I'm assuming this is a clear Bexy Glow acrylic powder. And this is a 42-gram tub. So a lot of the tubs, like Glitter Bells and some of the others, their large tubs come in 25s. So that shows how big of a tub this is. That is a 42-gram tub. We have a Sage and Sea Minerals Cuticle Oil by 21. Oh, that smells nice. Let me zoom you in. I have some gels by Jade UK. So this one is Jenna. It's a really, really nice pastel pink colour, actually. There we go. That's that lovely shade. I'm filming this now as it came about half an hour ago. This one's Hannah. And then I'm going to film some other bits to go with this video. Because I also have, look, oh, I love purple. It's my favourite colour. That is a lovely shade. They don't seem to be too thick or too thin either. Quite a nice texture. Yeah, I have some other bits that I want to show you. And like a recap on generally what's going on in the world. This is a gel paint. So this is a, good lord, maybe I need glasses, a 5-gram tub. And it's pastel orange. I haven't opened this one yet, but I will do. We have some sponges. I love me some makeup sponges. They're perfect for nail art. Although to be fair, I do usually just go to the pound shop and grab a load. So these are nail protector tapes for nail art painting. So you know, like if you are, what you might calling it, it stops it from getting around your fingers. But I don't know if any of you watch some of the Korean nail techs like I do. A lot of them have been using, it probably isn't, it just looks like, well, I could be wrong, black electrical tape. And they're actually cutting bits to come here and then down the sides, you know, like these are. And they do it to stop UV damage from the lights. Because apparently some people have got like light sensitivities. And I did see in another, oh, I love a good brush. I did see in another nail tech chat group that somebody's client actually had a reaction to the lamp. I've never actually heard of that before, but apparently it was the lights that cause her fingers to swell almost, you know, like an allergic reaction to the product. And then after 24 hours again, she's fine. So this is a nail mail one. And at one end, there is a dabber. This is awesome because self-contained and it's metal, it's not flimsy plastic. And in the other side, you have, oh, a very, very nice, let me just break the seal on that. Angled brush you could use for one stroke, for blending out lines, and actually really good for doing flowers. And the best part is, it's unlid. So a score right there. And finally we have a metal file board. And these are by Jade UK. And we have some 5 180s to go on here. Now a 180 is my favourite grit. And I do love a metal file board because, do I have another one to hand? So, do you like when you're filing? Hey, and look, I still have them on and they're growing out. I managed not to pick. So, you like if you have acrylic on or something else, gel even. And you like when you're filing down the side walls and filing. Well, sometimes, you know, if you're putting pressure on. So there, can you see if I put pressure on, that board bends. So sometimes if you're coming around the corners, you're bending your board because these are flexible. So you don't get that perfectly crisp, beautiful square that a lot of people like. I personally don't because those points bloody hurt. But with a metal file board, there's always going to be a tiny bit of flex, but nowhere near. I mean, I'm forcing the crap out of that. There's nowhere near as much. So if you are doing your straight lines here or your straight lines at the bottom, you will get that perfectly crisp square that everybody looks for. And these can go in an autoclave, in a sterilizer, in bivicide, whatever you want to clean it in. This is completely fine. And these can just be peeled off and chucked away. These refills are generally, I've not checked out the price from this company, but they are generally cheaper no matter where you go. So I have a couple of these. I have one from Kylie Aware that I like to use a lot. I still have a load of the refills because I actually bought a try me kit. So a lot of the companies do a try me kit with these metal files, and then you get a whole bunch of different grits of these. So it's a really good way to try one of these files cheaper and get the refills with it. And then if you don't like that particular brand's refills, it's fine. You can just, you know, top them up somewhere else. So I will pop those in there. And that is the design for this month. It is an ombre with animal print. So very spring and summery. Oops. And that is what I have got this time. Now in my next video, I have a whole bunch of magnetic gels to show you as well. And general life stuff. Yes, I do. So stay tuned for my very scattered brains. I am going to watch the video that comes with these and have a look at this design, and then I will get back to you with my take on it and we will see how we go. And before I forget also, I'm assuming it's open to normal customers. It definitely is to subscribers, which obviously I am. They are currently also doing a build your own nail mail box. So kind of like a mystery box, and the different prices of the boxes depend on how many products you want on it. But either way, the cost of your box is still way cheaper than the cost of, you know, all the products like these. My monthly box is £34. So I haven't looked at the prices, but as a general guess, a decent nail art brush, you're looking about £10–15, depending on where you go. They're even 20. Gel paints are usually at least £8 to £10, and some companies even charge a VAT on top of that. Gel polish standard balls generally seem to come in anywhere from 10 to up to 18, honestly, depending on the brand. some of which also have VAT on. I really hate VAT. It is a sneaky little shit that creeps up on you. It's horrible. Generally for a cuticle oil pen, depending on the websites, I've seen them anywhere from like £4 to £8. And they're like the, you know, like the professional sites like the CJP or the Nail Order, and some of the others. Metal file boards usually go for about £5 to £6. Then you have your refills, which generally come in packs of 10s. Now, a clear acrylic in a 25-gram tub from the brand I usually use is about £10 plus VAT as usual, plus delivery, and this is a 42-gram tub, so that is almost double of that. So, and then you have your sponges and your nail guards, which I honestly do not have a clue about, especially since I buy my sponges from the pound shop. So definitely worth the investment either way. But yes, now I've ranted at you like an old bar. Stay tuned and I will have a design up for you very shortly. Hi guys, I'm back again. So I am going in with American Creators Absolute White, and I'm going to paint 2 nails to show you the same design on. And the reason for that is it is the ombre design, and the tutorial for this one uses the acrylic powder method, you know, in the sponges, and I've had a good few tries with it, and honestly I really struggle a lot. So I thought I would show you that way if you are new and haven't used it before, and I thought I would show you the way I prefer to do it with an ombre brush. Now, a very good tip she gave was to do a very thin layer of white polish first, especially if you're using pastel colours or neon colours, because sometimes you need the white base to show the colour properly, because otherwise it can be a little patchy. I'm not using the colours that came with it, which was the Jade UK ones, but I do have similar colours, and these are a brand that I really like. So these are the Gel Excellence ones. I'm going for the same colours, so these are the Excellence ones, and these are the ones that came with it, so similar colours. But these ones, I actually know I would be able to do both techniques without the white, because these almost go on like a 1-coat polish. So for the first one, you are going to need some clear acrylic powder, sponge. I'm just going to keep the same sponge I was already playing with, a sponge. And for the second one, you are just going to need a ombre brush. This is not an expensive one. In fact, this came as part, it's battered. It came part of a nail set of just random nail art brushes when I first started nails about 5 years ago. And the little sucker is still hanging in there. So that's got to show it's good for something, right? So, and if you hear the dog thundering around, I do apologise, but he's been a proper dick today. And he's full of it. Absolutely full of it. So you can decant your gel polishes onto a palette and go in with a separate brush to paint onto your sponge, or you can just go straight in and paint on your sponge, which is exactly what I am going to be doing, just to save myself the cleanup, basically. So let's get a nice layer of purple on there. Now, a good tip I will give you is the sticky forms, you know, the form papers for if you're extending nails, is to clean your sponge off on one of those and just dab onto the sticky part, and it works much like sellotape would do the same, and it will pull off any little fabricy bits that are stuck to your sponge, and it'll stop them transferring to the nail. So let me hoof you up there. So then you just want to line up your sponge and just dab that colour on there. See, I have bits I need to clean mine. Let me zoom you in. So as you can see, that is very pastel-y. So before that cures, since we're doing it this way first, you want to take your acrylic powder and give that a really light dusting. So the acrylic powder gives it the tiniest bit of texture. Now you don't have to do this after every layer, just this first layer will work well enough, and it gives the gel polish something to actually stick to. I haven't tried it, but I am assuming you could actually get away with putting it on the white layer to stop you having to do it, you know, to get like a decent layer of the gel polish the first time. So I just got a sticky form, so sticky, and I'm just going to give it a stick your butt, dude, honestly. And it's pulling off lots of little fluffy tufts, and it's also pulling off the gel polish I put on there, but you know. So while it's curing, we'll go back in with a second layer. Now this way doesn't work well for me, but I have only used gel polish. I have not tried a gel paint, and the gel paint may well work a lot better. I just don't know. And if any of you are ace at doing this technique, please be a darling and share some tips, because honestly, this way of doing an ombre is quite honestly the bane of my bloody existence. So give that a dust off, and then let me zip you in again, and then we are going back in again, and as you can see, this time it's a lot more colour on there, and I'm just moving up and down a little, just to blend, you know, this way, just to blend the colours over each other slightly, so we don't have such a solid line. And we'll pop that in again. Now, as many layers as you do depends on the intensity of the colour you are looking for. I may do one more go and then just leave that as is, and I'll show you the other technique. Okay, right, I have left that one going, and I have moved my acrylic and my little spoon. So my preferred method for ombre, and let me put my little turtle down there, and let me just give my brush a wipe off because it's feeling a little sticky. But this one doesn't have a solid lid, it has a plastic tube, so I always have to keep it upside down. So my preferred method is to paint my lines on. Doesn't have to be perfect lines, just getting the colours in the vicinity of where you're wanting them. I've never tried this with a white underneath, and it seems to be pulling my paint a little. Right, and then you just want a wipe to the side, and you're literally just doing this movement, you know, like you're flicking a brush on your finger like this, over the entire nail, moving from one side all the way down. So let me zoom, because there we go. Are we ready? And then you're literally just moving the paint down. When you get to the end, you can just wipe it off. And on your blend lines, you're just moving backwards and forwards just to give you that blend. You can go over more than once. This isn't agreeing with the white paint. I'm just going to pop that to one side and get one without the white paint underneath. Okay. Let's try this again, huh? So let's get my lines again. Right, and then back onto my orange. I'm wondering if a cute little yellow would have looked nice there, actually. Right. And then swifty swipey. And just move left to right. So you're pulling the purple down, but then you're pushing the pink up. So they kind of blend together and they give you a different shade. And then you'll go pink down into orange and back up slightly, just so it mixes them. And you can always do this in more than one coat. So this is this one, and she's a little patchy, so you can just go in with a second coat and move it to wherever you want. But I've always found this method easiest. Yes, sometimes it can leave lines in your gel, you know, where you've mixed the colours and swiped them through sometimes. To be honest, I like that effect. I do think the sponge probably gives you a smoother, more seamless look. I think it really is just personal preference. And just remember, if your brush gets too full of gel, to give it a little swipe. Oops, I'm hitting you. Okay, so while that one is top coating, I just fasten my bottles. I've just done 2 coats on that one just to show you in general how I do it. And I am going to pop a top coat on. So this is what, including the little bits of black fluff, the one looked like with the sponge. As you can see, the acrylic makes it slightly textured, but to be perfectly honest, once you have a top coat on, that pretty much disappears. So if you have a very thin top coat, you do not want to be going like this, pressing super hard and pulling it all back off, because you will still have the lumps. You want to put a nice thin layer on, but kind of leave your brush so it's almost flat. Can you see that? And almost level with the nail. And then just float a top coat on really, really gently. And it will fill the ridges in, as well as give you a really, really nice smooth finish. a thick top coat will give you a really nice finish too, and you won't really have to smooth that one. Right, I will just top coat the other one. So this is the one I don't know, I call it wafting. I wafted it with my brush. This is the brush ombre version. No texture on this one, so I can be a bit of a rough ass with the top coat. And I'll put those both into cure. The next part, you want black gel paint or a gel polish. So I'm using the long liner brush I got in one of my boxes. This is not my thinnest brush by far. I definitely have thinner ones, but it is a really nice fine liner. And I'm just going to pop some. See, this pot's nearly empty, so instead of using a palette, I am now just desecrating the lid of my pot, as well as wiping it all over my gel balls. So you can decant onto a palette, or you can desecrate your lids, whichever works for you. I'm just going to make sure my brush is nice and coated. So you want to pull along. Now you don't want your paint all the way up to the barrel. See, I've left a tiny gap, but you do want a nice coating. And if you give the brush that little twist, it will give you the nice point as well. So I will show you on this one. This is the sponge one. So we are going zebra print. So basically it wants to come down into a triangle in the nail. So this would be like your center line. And all of your points kind of want to come to there. So if you press your brush flat down, you will get the thicker lines. And as you pull it up, you will get those lovely thin points. Now, if you have shaky hands, you're going to do awesome at this. Because your lines do not need to be even. They do not need to be smooth. They do not need to be straight. They do not need to be even thicknesses. As long as they're all pointing in the same direction, you can do whatever you damn well please. I've gotten so used to painting straight lines, I actually have a problem doing this. I actually, honestly, struggle a little bit. So I'm doing a mix of thin and thick. I'm just making sure, I'd say they're meeting the middle point, but my point's gone a little sideways. So you can have some joined lines and you can have some singles. So these are like singles, but you could also do joint ones where they actually come together to form the point. And then you can fill them in a bit. So they're like a triangle shape. And always come to the end of your nails. So to get the skinny little points, I'm not putting any extra gel on my brush. I'm rolling it to get that point, and then I'm literally pulling whatever gel I already have in that section really lightly with the very tip of my brush. And that is giving me the point. And you just keep going until you get to the bottom. You can add bits, take bits away. You could also do this in gel paint and then sprinkle acrylic again, and you would have textured zebra print. if you wanted it a little more 3D. And you just keep going until you are happy, or at the end of your nail. And there we have it. And there we have it. So this is your sponge ombre. As you can see, it's lighter in colour than the brush one, but it's kind of got, I don't know, almost a smoother transition. But you can't really see the lines in that one much, but we have that one as well. So this is done with the brush. This is done with the sponge. And there we go. Hope you all enjoyed it, and I hope you give it a try. And if any of you have tips for the sponge ombre, please share them. I am more than happy to take help and definitely want to learn. But there we have it. Thanks, guys. Hope you give it a try. Let me know how it turns out. I'll see you soon. Bye.